ton of fun. So my goal for today is to take each and every one of you from overworked and under-rewarded, or an overworked and under-rewarded creator, to an underworked and over-rewarded creator. That's my goal for today. Deal? Throw a thumbs up if you're happy with that. Come on, use the chat, guys. Nice. Cool. All right. I deeply understand the struggle that many of you are going through right now. A lot of you are probably struggling with audience growth, with monetization, with all of the above, because I have gone through all of it. Because between 2016 and 2021, I fully bought into all the bullshit we are all told. All the stuff we're told by all the gurus, all the big accounts, everyone we admire tells us the same shit, and I fully bought into it for years. I tightly restricted my content within my niche. I cannot tell you how many times I got this piece of advice. I remember as a beginner creator, all the way back in 2016, I would ask big creators, I would reach out and go, what do I need to do to grow? What do I need to do to build an audience? And every single time without fail, those big creators would tell me, niche down and never deviate, even slightly. And I did that for years. I was a good boy, I was patient, and I waited until I had followers to monetize. I actually released a preset pack when I had 3,500 followers way back in early 2017. I released my first ever digital product, which was a preset pack. And I actually had a big creator I admired reach out to me and tell me that I tried to monetize too early. He criticized my process of, wanting to obviously try and monetize my audience. Obviously, little did I realize that was not, not suitable. Can everyone hear me? Someone's saying we can't hear me. You should be able to. Let me double check my audio real quick. Yeah, you should be able to. Okay, cool. All right, just maybe double check your headphones if you can't hear me. So I released that preset pack, and I had a big creator that I really admired reach out to me and tell me how I was monetizing too early. And so I decided to wait after that point and didn't release a next product until 2022, which is crazy. And number 3, I used effort as my one and only signal for how good my content was, because that's what big creators told me to do. I would use effort, how much time and effort I put into my content. I remember I used to be proud of the fact that I would spend days on a video or days on a piece of artwork or days on something. I used to see that as my only good signal for how good my content was. And where did that lead me? In August of 2021, after being so burnt out that I hated my work, I actually quit being a content creator. I decided that I was done. And this story gets way worse before it gets better. So I've been there. I've been to the point where you guys are at. I've been to the point where a lot of people struggle with, which is getting to the point where you're done. And it's not a process of, I don't like this anymore. It's not a process of, wow, this isn't working. I got to the point where I had decided that I was going to quit content creation altogether. And as a lot of you know, I went and spent 12 months doing this, which is racing Ironman triathlons. This was me at the finish line of my first ever Ironman, or my full distance Ironman. Now, spending 12 months pretending I was a professional triathlete taught me 3 key lessons about content creation and life that form the foundations that has led me here today. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Number 1 lesson was that passion and enjoyment will get you out on the good days, but the rest is discipline. And what do I mean by that? You can't compete with someone who enjoys the needle moving activities. But not because the enjoyment gets them further, but because their discipline does. Now, I don't say this to be discouraging and let you know that you need to really enjoy this, otherwise you're going to fail, but I want you to find, as fluffy as this is, I need you to find your zone of genius and then work within that to create something that works with you, not against you. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Number 2, one good workout won't get you to race day. Years of consistent 12-week blocks will get you to race day. It's never the person who works the hardest who wins. It's the person who works consistently for years without injury who wins. And number 3, 10% of your workouts will be amazing, 30% will be okay, and 60% will be so horrific that you never want to do it again. But those 60% are what lead to the amazing ones. This is what your next 500 pieces of content are going to look like. which is crazy. I know it sounds insane, but this is what your next 500 pieces of content are going to look like. All of these little black dots are going to suck. You're going to hate them. Some of them you're going to do it and you're going to go, I never want to do this again. But then you're going to have red ones, and those are going to make it all worth it. And it was after learning those lessons that I finally realized if I could just find a way to incorporate these lessons into my content and business, I would be unstoppable. I would become unstoppable. If I just ignored all of the bullshit that all of the big creators told me when I was younger, I would become unstoppable. So when I did come back in 2022 after getting rejected from the one and only job application I put in, and I'm not lying when I say that, I applied for a creative position. I think I was on the content team or I was applying to be on the content team at a cycling manufacturing company from Melbourne. Now, I'm not going to tell you which one, but they're a big cycling manufacturing company, and I never heard back. So I basically saw that as my signal that, you know what, an extra 20 grand on my credit card's not going to hurt me in the long run, or it very well could have. Thankfully, it didn't. And I decided to give this one last shot. I realized that there were 3 false beliefs that were holding me back that I changed when I did come back. Number 1 is obviously riches are in the niches. This is bullshit. Number 2 is quality over quantity is bullshit. And number 3, the person who waits the longest to monetize always wins. And in today's call, I want to break those mindsets and give you some alternatives to walk away with. And so over the following 12 months, I did the exact opposite. I fucked off every piece of advice I'd ever received and treated my business the same way I treat my endurance training. And I achieved more in that 1 year back, or that first year back, than I had in the previous 5 years combined. My first year back after implementing these changes, I gained over 250,000 followers and earned over $300,000. This is a screenshot of my accounting software from that day to today. My business has done, or just recently passed $1 million in total revenue. 300,000 of that coming in the first year, and 737,000 of that coming in the last 12 months. This is this financial year, operating at about 70% margins, just to give you guys full clarity. So we're about to pass $1 million in 12 months. Just to prove that I know what I'm talking about and I'm not bullshitting. This year, my personal brand is on track to generate my first 7-figure year in business. And that came from completely rejecting every piece of advice I'd ever received. I cannot emphasize that point enough. And I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic. I do the exact opposite of literally all the advice that I get online. And I achieve more than everyone else does. It's not by accident. And I'm going to teach you that today. So today, I'm going to break down each of those beliefs, or breakdown's probably a little bit too light. I'm going to destroy each of those beliefs and give you an alternative and set you up to make this year your best year yet. All right. Number 1, you need to niche down to be successful. This belief exists, or at least in my eyes, I think the reason why this belief exists is because traditionally, yes, a brand should be niched. Our point of connection to a traditional brand or a product is their niche. The idea that you are connected to Nike through the niche of athleticism or sport or whatever you want to do. Products have a niche, and that's how we connect to them. Niching down gives a traditional business a smaller percentage of the market to connect with and focus on, lower advertising costs to connect with their niche, and higher profit margins from a smaller range of products. Now, obviously, that's a good thing. But a massive disadvantage of a traditional brand is they lack relatability to their customers. They completely lack the ability to relate on a personal level to their customers. That is why they manufacture stories to connect with you. They have to manufacture a story through their product in order to connect with people like you and me. This is why Nike has to use people like all the athletes that they use to create a story that you can connect with. They cannot connect with you. They have to use their athletes, their story, their marketing, all the things that they do. It's only crazy until you do it. All of this stuff is part of the process of relating to you. But with a personal brand, your most powerful point of relatability, my friends, is you. A personal brand can connect with other human beings in a way that traditional brands would literally kill for. By niching down, You are eliminating your biggest unfair advantage. Your biggest unfair advantage completely disappears by niching down your content. You take yourself from competing with a category of one. You are literally the only version of you that can possibly create a personal brand. And by niching down, you then put yourself into the bucket of every single other person that's in that niche. You suddenly go from a blue ocean, a big, vast opportunity, to a red ocean, an oversaturated, probably already done space that you need to compete within. You are shooting yourself in the foot. Let me prove it. Why are you all here? There are plenty of other creators who teach personal branding and online business on social media, but why are you here? Why is there 650 people on this call? Throw it in the chat. Let me know. Give me a bit of an idea as to why you're here. You, lol. I can't really keep up with the chat, but I imagine a lot of it saying something along the lines of some part of my story felt relatable. Some part of what I have shared with you felt relatable enough that you decided to show up here today. And now you see yourself achieving the results that I and my students have achieved because you feel like you can relate to me and my story. It is much easier for you to look at where I came from, what I have done, and what I have achieved today and go, wow, if Tom can do it, I can do it too, because I have shared my story with you. This feels achievable because I am relatable. But that's only possible because I shared it with you. I made the conscious decision to share my story with you, and now you're here today. If personal branding was my niche, most of you wouldn't be here, even though I am here literally right now teaching you personal branding. That is the irony of this. By not making this my niche, I have been able to achieve bigger business success based on the fact that I have an audience that know, like, and trust me. Let me turn that on to focus for a sec. So if personal branding was my niche, most of you wouldn't be here today. Most of the content I post has nothing to do with my offer, yet my offer performs better than 99% of other creators. And that is the result of trust. Each of you felt like you could relate to some part of my story, and as a result, you trust me and my products more than the rest of the market. Why do you think they give superheroes an origin story? Being an orphan and having an uncle get shot in the street as a consequence of your actions isn't exactly Spider-Man niche, is it? But that struggle is far more relatable than being a human spider. And that relatability makes each of us see ourselves in Peter Parker. A human spider that can climb on walls and swing from buildings and has superhero strength is completely unrelatable and completely ridiculous. But give them an origin story and suddenly that person feels like someone that you could be. And the exact same thing happens with creators. If you look at all the creators that you admire the most, the people that you look up to, it is never, ever because of what they do. It's always because of who they are. You trust people, certain people in the industry, a lot more than others based on who they are, not what they do. There are people that I'm sure each of you follow or each of you have seen online, and your immediate thought when you see their content is, they are full of shit. And the reason why you think that is because you don't know them well enough. There is a reason why you'll listen to a story from a friend, but you hear a story from a content creator and you immediately vent it off because you don't know them. You don't know what they're about. You don't understand the context behind that story. And it's the same thing with being a content creator. A lot of you are here because of this. Some of you are here because you also have ADD or dyslexia and you've struggled with that growing up. And some of you are here because you also want to buy an olive green 992 GT3 RS one day, or a 992.1 now. But all of you are here because you found some aspect of my story relatable, and now you trust me and my products more than everyone else. And just to really prove it, because I know it's one thing to talk about Spider-Man, not me. I know it's one thing to talk about Spider-Man. I know it's one thing to talk about me. But just to really prove it, why do each of you follow Alex Hormozi? Why do each of you follow Alex Hormozi? Is it because he's in the niche of really good business advice? Because he's definitely not the only part. Because he's definitely not the only one doing that. A lot of you follow him because you find him more relatable than all the other business gurus. His transparency, no bullshit, his 0 to 1 story is what you're saying. You follow him because you find him more relatable than all the other business gurus. And so, as a result, you actually trust what he says. You could give Alex Hormozi's content to someone else and give them no origin story, give them no context about who they are, and all of you, verbatim, if they literally copied Alex's content, you would probably immediately think they were full of shit. Even if they achieved all the same results, even if they had done all the same things, if you didn't know anything about that person, about their origin story, you wouldn't trust them. But you know what's cool about Alex Hormozi is that he's not everyone's cup of tea. He's not. And the beautiful thing that they're doing in their business is you've got Alex and you've also got Layla. You've got something for the people that find Alex to be, he's a super jacked, very macho, masculine dude. Like, he's not everyone's cup of tea. And they've got someone else that's suitable for those people who aren't interested in Alex. And he does this on purpose. He's not doing this for shits and gigs. He's not sharing Mosey meals and his fitness stuff and never skip dessert and self-improvement and his origin story and sleeping on the gym floor. He's not sharing all of these things for the sake of it. He understands marketing. He understands business. He understands brand. He's doing this on purpose. So how do we do this in our own content? And just to make sure this workshop is actually actionable. Number one, you need to focus on a dream follower and customer rather than a niche. Now, this will give you direction. This will give you focus. For me, in all of my content, this is myself 5 years ago. Now, since making these slides or since sort of teaching this stuff, I've adapted this a little bit more to focus on a specific target audience that I've sort of created in my own mind. But a great starting place, at least for a lot of you, is targeting yourself 5 years ago. Or at least a version of you 5 years ago. Just basically someone who's a beginner. In all of my content, I am trying to help my past self become who I am today. So every part of my story is relevant to people on the same journey that I was. And you want to look at this as your content is to help them and your offers are your core mission. For me, personal branding or helping each of you build a profitable business, helping each of you build something that you can use in your content or build a brand, build an audience, build an offer. That is my core mission. But my personal brand is how I'm able to connect with each of you. And that makes a massive difference. One of my biggest pieces of feedback I've received lately is it feels like you read my mind. I get these comments a lot. Sometimes I'll get comments from people being like, dude, this video feels like you read my mind. I'm not. I'm not. I'm just making great content for me. And as a result, it connects really well with you. That's the only difference. Then, once you have a crystal clear idea of who this dream follower is, what I want you to do is make content that moves them closer to their dream outcome. And to get an idea of what their dream outcome is or what your dream customer's dream outcome is, it's your results. If you sit down today at some point, take out a pen and paper or a journal or whatever you want to do, Notion, I don't care, and write down at the top, what have I achieved so far in my career that I am absolutely fucking stoked with? What am I really proud of? And as a result, you'll sit down and you'll go and make a list. And one of them will be like, I built a bit of an audience. And maybe another one will be, I was able to achieve this. And another one might be, I've connected with a network of amazing people, or I've opened doors for myself, or I've earned this money. And at the end of that list, you can basically take that list and go, that's what my dream follower wants. And now you can make content helping them get closer to that dream outcome. Move them away from an outcome they're terrified of. This is when you make content to demonstrate where you come from, demonstrate how your story is more relatable than everyone else. The stories I've made where I talk about, I made a video recently where I talked about how I went to my friend's 23rd birthday party with $82 in my bank account and spent it all on beer that night because I was embarrassed about failing. That sort of stuff is moving my dream follower away from the outcome they're terrified of. When I make content talking about how I used to be terrified of the idea that I was never going to be able to buy a house with my income because I just didn't make enough money for the first 5 years of my career. I used to be terrified of the idea that, my wife was going to have to work for the rest of her life. I was terrified that I was never going to be able to support a family, send my kids to a good school, buy the house that I'm sitting in right now. All of these things were things I was terrified of. That content is helping move them away from the outcome they're terrified of. And then make content that they would find relatable. Draw from your experiences. A good rule of thumb and a good hack if you guys want to walk away with something. From now on in your content, whenever you're coming up with something, I want you to always think, when you come up with your idea and you listicle and you go, hey, I'm going to teach people how to get more leads into their business, and I'm going to help them by using 1, 2, and 3 outcome or those strategies or whatever. For each of those strategies, I want you to think to yourself, is there a personal story that I've gone through that would help demonstrate that strategy better than me just telling it? If you can use that strategy in all of your content, I promise your content will be way more relatable and way more authentic because you'll actually be telling it in a way that connects with. And it's just storytelling. It's a way of immediately making your content more engaging. It's a hack that's going to improve your engagement, improve your relatability, and improve your audience. So start using it. In every opportunity you can, tell a story rather than just making your content. And ironically, the more specific you can be about the dream follower that you have, the broader your content will become because you're able to help every area of that person's life. Now, a really good example of this, and I've told this example a couple times to my students inside my program, but 0.4% of the entire population in the world has ever raced an Ironman. I think it's like 0.4 or 0.5% of the population, less than 1%, just to be honest. So a tiny number of people. But in my program, every single intake of students that we have, last time we had 183 students join the program. And of that 183, we had between 30 and 40 people in that program who had either raced an Ironman in the past, plan on doing it in the next few months, so they've already registered for their race, or intend on doing one in the next few years. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. But why did that happen? Because for the people that are interested in Ironman triathlon or endurance sport and also interested in branding, I am the only person who exists on the internet who they want to learn from. They don't give a fuck about anyone else teaching what I teach because I have their common interest. 2, split your content into these 3 key areas when you're making this: growth, authority, and authenticity. Most creators think they need to be niched in order to grow. They think this because they're trying to achieve all 3 of these in every single piece of content they make. They're trying to grow their audience, they're trying to be authentic, and they're trying to show their authority. And for some of you, you're also trying to make sales. So you're trying to do 4 things at once. You're trying to do 4 things in every single piece of content you make, and you're achieving none of them. Most creators think they need to do this in order to grow. And this is based on the idea that every piece of content needs to achieve everything all at once. They think they need to grow their audience, demonstrate authority, and be authentic. This is untrue. Each time you publish content from now on, focus on one of them at a time. So you don't need to grow your audience with every piece of content you make. You don't need to be authentic in every piece of content you make. You don't need to show your authority in every single piece of content you make. You can do one in here, you can do another one there, you can do another one there, and over an entire week of content, you can split it up, periodize it, so you're achieving everything. And the easiest way to kind of emphasize this point is your audience or your reputation on social media is not going to be built on what you post today. It's not going to be built on what you post this week. It's not going to be built on what you post this month. It's going to be built on what you post over the next 12 months. So over those 12 months, if you post a lot of content that helps grow your audience, a lot of content that helps grow your authenticity, and a lot of content that helps demonstrate your authority, you're going to end up with a much better audience or a much stronger relationship with that audience than if you try to do them all at once. So periodize your content. Don't try to do everything all at once. And what I mean by growth, authority, and authenticity content is your growth content is plain and simple. Is your brand growing? This is something that a lot of content creators are in denial about. Like they don't like the trends. They don't like the way social media is moving. They're blaming the algorithm and all these things that they refuse to do. It's just entitlement. If your brand is not growing, it's not Instagram's fault. It's not the algorithm's fault. It's not other people's fault. You're just not growing your audience. Your content isn't working. My audience between the beginning of this year and maybe the start of this month didn't really grow. And that's my fault. I was not posting enough to grow my audience. I wasn't seeing what was working. I wasn't innovating my content. I wasn't trying new things and it wasn't growing. And what happened when I actually tried to do something different? My audience has grown by 10,000 followers this month. So you have to focus on trying to find the thing that will grow your audience. Now, this is very abstract and very different for everyone. Some of you, that viral content is going to be carousel posts. Some of you, it's going to be talking to camera. Some of you, it's going to be shorter videos. Some of you, it's going to be YouTube videos. It depends on the type of audience you have. Number 2, authority. Put simply, this is how you demonstrate that you have achieved what other people desire or admire. This is the runner showing that they've run a 2:45 marathon. This is me talking about the revenue that my business has made. This is a creator talking about how they grew their audience by X amount in certain months. These are the things that show your authority on a topic. And authenticity. This is your origin story. This is the way that you connect with your audience. I'm a massive fan, and this is the first homework project that I get all of my students to do, is to create a My Story video. And the reason why I tell them to do that is because it's the easiest way to immediately provide context for all the other content you make. And I'll explain that in one sec. All of this together creates leverage. Now, one more point to emphasize this before I move on to the next one. You might think that authenticity content feels like a waste of time. You might go, I'm making a video about my story. It doesn't really do anything for my audience. Why would I bother? But what if I told you that sharing more of your story will actually improve the performance of your growth and authority content? By sharing your origin story, you will help actually provide more context to improve the other content. Let me show you how this works. This is what I call, or this is what I have named, context setting. And it's basically a way to provide more context for all your other content to help improve its effectiveness. And the only way that I can describe this is with a little drawing. So give me a sec. I'm going to demonstrate this with my little iPad, okay? So give me one sec. Now, to demonstrate this, I like to use the analogy of an iceberg, or at least it's the way it works best. So we'll have a little over here. We have our waterline and you have your little iceberg. Now, for this is basically your content at the moment. Because you have to remember on social media, most people who are coming to your page have no idea who you are. Most. You might have a couple followers who kind of understand your story. You might have a small percentage of people who, are friends or have had a conversation with you in person or been on a phone call, and they know what you are. They know who you are. But most of the people, 99% of the people who see your content on social media have no fucking idea who you are. Nothing. They know no context about who you are. But every single time you make content, you are making this content with the context of this giant iceberg of context beneath the surface. All of this context, this is what I call context. This beneath the surface is my ADD and dyslexia and the fact that I really struggled at school. It's my anxiety and depression. It's the fact that I went through financial hardship as a kid, and that process of having to go through that and then building the business I have now and supporting my family. All of this context makes the content above the surface more powerful. So by sharing the context beneath the surface, you're able to provide much greater strength to the content above the surface. This is why a My Story video is basically the best thing that you can pin on your profile on social media, because you can immediately give people all the context they need to enjoy the rest of your content so much more. So try to think from now on that every time you're posting authenticity content, you are providing context. Sorry about my horrific handwriting, by the way. Let's go back to the presentation. Does that make sense to everyone? Is everyone kind of across the niche thing? Made sense. Amazing. Number 2, and this is one of my favorite ones. Let me just clean up a little bit here. This is one of my favorite ones. You need to move mountains to mountains for your content. Now, this one is based on, some of you might not think this. Some of you might come from the world of, business people, and you understand that a business needs to operate sustainably, otherwise it's not going to last. You understand all of these principles. But some of you in here are artists, and you guys think you need to bleed out of your eyeballs in order to make content, otherwise it's a waste of your time. And I'm about to prove that wrong. This belief is fucking stupid, and it's only going to lead to burnout and eventually quitting. This was me. I used to be proud. I cannot emphasize this point enough. I used to be proud of the fact that I would spend days on single videos. I used to actually, in my content, when I would post an artwork that took me a couple days to make, I would then post about how long it took me to make, and I was proud of that fact. And the only thing that led to is complete burnout. I was so burnt out by the end of that stint of 5 years of making content that I never wanted to do it again, and I haven't since. Now, in another world where I'd done it more sustainably, could I have done this or achieved what I have now from that content? Maybe, but I didn't because I completely burnt myself out. It is fucking stupid, and I cannot emphasize that enough. Let me take you back to the beginning for a second. It's never the person who works the hardest who wins. It's the person who works consistently for years without injury who wins. Let me change that. It's never the person who creates the highest effort content who wins. It's the person who creates content consistently for years without burning out who wins. It's literally the same thing. Quite literally the same thing. This is your next 500 pieces of content. How many have we got here? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 of 500 pieces of content are the reason you are going to grow an audience. But you don't get to achieve these 12 unless you make these 488 pieces of content. It won't happen. I promise. As much as I know the sun is about to come up outside, because it's still dark outside, as much as I know the sun is about to come up, I know that you're not going to go viral and achieve what you want to achieve out of this unless you make those 500 pieces of content, plain and simple. So if you are doing anything, if you are doing fucking anything to limit your ability to make content, you are wasting your time. Now, quality will come from quantity. If you are a beginner right now and your content is terrible, you need to make more content. If you are more advanced and you're struggling with the efficiency of your content, you're good, but you're struggling with the efficiency, making more content will make you more efficient. Everything will get better with quantity. You will never achieve this without this. The value of your work is in publishing, not creating. The value of your work is in publishing content, not creating. Everything happens after you hit publish. Everything. You need to optimize for one piece of content every single day minimum. And if you can't do that, you need to change something in order to be able to do that. This is the bare minimum. If you are on social media, you need to optimize for one piece of content every single day. Now, that doesn't mean you can't periodize things. That doesn't mean you can't have days where you make some higher effort content and then days where you make low effort content. It doesn't mean you can't do that, but you need to optimize for every single day. If you can't achieve that with how much effort you're currently putting in, you need to do less so you can achieve more. Let me ask you a question. If you could pick, and I like to ask this question because I think it breaks this mindset for a lot of people, but if you could pick between a 1 out of 10 in terms of effort and a 1 out of 10 in terms of results, what would you pick? I want you guys to give me between 1 and 10 in terms of effort and 1 in 10 in terms of results, what would you choose? 1 effort, 10 results. Exactly. So then why the fuck are most of you doing the opposite? Most of you on this call right now are putting 10 out of 10 effort into your content and achieving a 1 out of 10 in terms of results. Nothing, I hate this like cliche quote, but nothing changes until you change. Nothing is going to change until you change. If you are making 10 out of 10 effort content and achieving a 1 out of 10 result, stop hitting your head against the wall. Do something different. Lower your effort. Try to achieve better results and build back up again. If there was the perfect way to be a content creator, it would be to start with the 1 out of 10 effort. The least possible commitment. The thing that you could do every single fucking day easily, and then see how well it does. And if you achieve a 2 out of 10 result from a 1 out of 10 effort, then bump it to a 3 out of 10 effort and go, okay, let's test that for a little bit. And this achieves a 6. And you're like, okay, we're on to something here. You bump it to 4, still achieves a 6. You bump it to 5, it achieves an 8. That is your perfect spot. But most of you sit out and go, I'm going to do 10 out of 10 straight out of the gate and see what happens. And then you achieve a 2 out of 10 result and you sit there. And this is where you sit for the rest of your career. It's not going to achieve anything, my friends. I could do so much more in my content. There is so much more I could do. I could film B-roll for every single video. I could fly Kyle here and get him to live at my house instead of having him edit remotely. There are so many things that I could do to improve the quality of my content. I could film in a different location every single time. I could set up these cameras and lights to look as good as humanly possible every single time I do this. But I don't do those things because I'm optimizing for output. I am doing the best that I can with the limitation of daily content. And you need to do that too. You would pick a 1 out of 10 and a 10 out of 10 in terms of results. Most of you are up here. This is where you need to be. I get the most pushback on this point over almost everything else I speak about, which is hilarious because it's the least, emotionally charged thing I speak about. No one pushes back against them. When I talk about money, no one cares. When I talk about, niching down, some people care. But when I talk about effort, oh my God. Everyone uses the example of, what about Mr. Beast? Mr. Beast has a team of 750 employees. Do you reckon he's the one putting effort into his content? Or do you reckon he's spending a lot of money? You choose. So again, let me prove it. Pablo Picasso produced 15,000 paintings over the course of his lifetime. I'm an art nerd, and I only know him from Guernica and Weeping Woman. Guernica and Weeping Woman are the only artworks that I can name off the top of my head from Pablo Picasso. 0.01% of his total work is the reason why any of you know his name. Did the 14,990 plus artworks that he created that no one really talks about tarnish his reputation as an artist? No. Tim Ferriss, one of the most prolific creators of the last 2 decades. Let me remind you, he wrote The 4-Hour Workweek in 2007. 2007, he wrote The 4-Hour Workweek. He has been one of the most, and probably the only example of someone who's had a genuinely sustainable career in content creation. Everyone else Alex Hormozi has only been around since 2020. Gary Vee even. Gary Vee's been around for a lot longer. But Tim Ferriss is probably the only example of a creator that has genuinely been around for almost 2 decades. He stopped recording video podcasts because he doesn't like traveling with the camera equipment. Let me say that again. He stopped recording video podcasts because he doesn't like traveling with camera equipment. He made a decision that negatively impacts the short-term success of his podcast to maximize his ability to output consistently long-term. Ben, or Life Through Optics, a supercharged time to build student of mine, went from 300,000 followers to almost I think he's over 1 million now across all platforms. But at the time of making this slide, to over 800,000 followers across all platforms in under a year. But how is he able to do this? Because rather than focusing on his highest effort content, which is automotive photography or car photography, he found and focused on a format that was effortlessly sustainable. He films all of his content with a GoPro strapped to his cap and his chest, and that's all of his content. So when he's photographing cars, he just films everything and then edits it later. That's most of his content. He still posts his highest effort stuff, which is photography, but most of his content is low effort. And as a result, he's gone from 3,000 followers at the beginning of last year in January to now making almost $20,000 a month, and he has 717,000 followers on Instagram in just over a year. Consistency over an enormous period of time is the bare minimum. It's the bare minimum. You posting, if you're on this call and you want to achieve good results, you consistently posting content every single day for the next 5 years is the bare minimum if you want to achieve the success that you want. If you can't do that, you are letting your ego or your ego's desire for perfection sabotage your potential. Plain and simple. If you can't let yourself focus on consistency because you want to make perfection, you are letting your ego sabotage your potential. Fight against it. So how do we do this for yourself? 1, find a format that is sustainable for you. Then use all of your effort to maximize output over an enormous amount of time. Lower your expectations for each individual piece of content and then make a shitload of content. That's the best way to do it. 2, use systems to make content easier. Every part of your process should become easier with time, not harder. Build systems. If you can do something once and then make it easier to do it every single other time you do it, that will help. And 3, you need to wait until you have followers to monetize. This is the final belief. Let me, just so we're across it, how does everyone feel about the effort? Thumbs up if you like that section or you're across it. Thumbs up if you're going to focus on consistency over the next 5 years. F's in the chat for effort. I don't even know what that fucking means. I'm not a streamer. All right. Belief number 3. You need to wait until you have followers to monetize. Now, this is a big one. This is a big one. How many followers do you think you need to monetize? Throw it in the chat. How many followers do you think you need to monetize? You guys know my content. Damn it. Damn it. 600K. There we go. Someone's wrong. A lot of you know my content, so that ruins the effectiveness of this point, but I'm still going to prove it. So, Dorsassin, one of my students in Time to Build, he was in 5 and 6, I believe. Dorsassin has 27,000 followers and is making $17,000 a month. He doesn't even speak English. He's speaking Hebrew in his content and absolutely dominating that market and making $17,000 a month. Daniel Adoy, who's now an employee of mine, but up until he was an employee of mine, he was making between 0 and he had 3,000 followers, and every single launch of his own program he was doing between, $5,000 and $10,000 per launch, and then he's also had months as high as $20,000 based on the content he was making. And then I've got Aaron, who is a student of mine as well, and a supercharged student, or one of my Time to Build students, but also has worked one-on-one with me. He has 20,000 followers and is making between $25,000 and $30,000 per launch of his own program. And this was him, November 2023, so just a few months ago, and he's now built this up to 21,000 followers. I think he's even at 25 now. So, point is, you need far less followers than you think. Far, far less followers than you think. The issue most creators have is they have no idea how many people they need to make the money they want. Let me know. Do most of you guys in the chat, do you know exactly, and I mean exactly, I don't want you to give me a ballpark figure. I don't want you to think of it at the top of your head. Have you sat down and figured out exactly how many customers you need per year and per month to make the amount of money that you want? Have you? Nope, no, not really. Never. Knowing this number is how you build a funnel that can support your business. You cannot build a funnel as a content creator until you know this number. And it fucking blows my mind that people don't think about this. It blows my fucking mind when I get on a call with people, when I get on the calls with my students in Time to Build and we talk about this section and people have never done it before. You get this number and this is simple, but it will change your life and your business. You get this number by taking your goal earnings and dividing it by the price of your product or service. So if your goal is $100K per year and your product is $500, you need 200 people per year to purchase from you. 200 people to make $100,000. Suddenly it seems insanely achievable. And you know what? You want to know the catch 22 of this? A lot of creators will actually use, or a lot of big creators will actually use this number or reverse engineer this number to figure out the price of their program. So if you're someone who wants to have, let's say you want to make $1 million a year. Let's go and do this for a sec. Let's say you want to make $1 million a year. 1 million. And let's say you've got 60,000 followers. I would imagine with that number, you could reasonably service between 500 and 1,000 people per year, I would say, is a reasonable number. Let's, to be safe, say, just to make it a nice round number, let's say 600 people per year you can reasonably service. To get to $1 million a year, you would need to provide 1, 2, 3. Sorry, I'm using a calculator because I'm not very smart. Or not very smart with math. You would need to have a product or service priced between, it's exactly 1,666, but we're going to say between 1,499 and 1,999 to get to $1 million. 600 people at 1,499. You cannot, and I cannot emphasize this enough, you cannot just price things for with no thought, with no idea of how much money you want to make, with no idea how many customers you're going to have. You need to think about this before you even invest in building a product. A lot of my best performing students usually sit down and go, you know what? I think I could service 20 clients a month. I'm going to charge it at $3,500. What do I need to do to make a product that is worth $3,500? And suddenly they're achieving results that are completely insane for the amount of followers they have, but they're not completely insane. The reason why they seem insane is because they might have, let's say they have 2,000 followers, but they only need, in order to make the money that they want, 40 people. Do you reckon you could convert 40 people from 2,000? The reason why people struggle to monetize is because they release a $20 product. And they're like, oh yeah, I struggled to monetize. Of course you did. You don't have an audience to create the kind of volume that you need to sell that kind of product. So the game is figuring out how many followers you need or how many people you need to buy the product at a certain price and be able to make money. No, the point is not to sell to rich people. The point is to create a product or service that allows you to reach your goals and being honest with the kind of quality or the kind of content you can make. As your audience gets bigger, you can service a wider audience. But the idea that you're going to have, 2,500 followers and release a paid community for $40 a month or $30 a month, and that's going to get you to hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of dollars, is completely impossible. You need to figure out how much money you want to make and then figure out how you're going to get there. This quickly breaks you away from the rat race of chasing vanity metrics that means fuck all. There are plenty of creators with a lot of attention making very little money. Don't be one of these people. This is a business. Like, I can't, this is off the cuff, but this is a business at the end of the day, right? Most of you are in this game because you want to build a business. Am I right? Throw that in the chat. Are you in here because you want to build a business? Yeah, exactly. And most of you don't want to get there with sponsorships and brand deals because that's not a business. You're a freelance. You're an employee of these companies that pay you a salary if you do sponsorships. We're here to build a business. And building an audience and chasing followers and chasing likes and chasing views is not a business. It's not. Plain and simple. I can't emphasize that point enough. It is not a business. So if you want to build a business, you need to focus on building a vehicle that can make you money. If you can focus instead on how well your content is converting, suddenly you don't give a fuck about views. That's the beautiful thing about what I do. Like I am first and foremost a business owner of a educational company called Time to Build. That is my primary job. I just so happen to use my personal brand as the main marketing vehicle for that business. So, this is the social media funnel, or at least a quick outline of it. Obviously, it's a little bit different for everyone, and how you actually operate this is a whole other conversation. But this, in general, is the social media funnel. At the top, you have your rented audience or your big audience. This is the big wide bucket on social media that all of your followers, likes, views, and engagement go into. You then have your owned audience, which is everyone who gives you their email address. Everyone who's, downloaded a lead magnet, everyone who's done something to opt into your funnel. You then have your nurtured audience. So it's one thing to get someone's email address. It's another thing to actually end up in their inbox. So if you guys are routinely reading my emails, you are actually in my nurtured audience. And then finally at the bottom, you have your monetized audience. And these are the people that are buying your products. These are the people that are supporting your business. These are the actual audience you're trying to focus on. Now, to give you some context on what this actually looks like or how it works, you'll have social media content, you'll have lead magnets and newsletter signups, you'll have newsletter signups, webinars, low-ticket products, long-form content to nurture those people, and then you have high-ticket products, coaching, and offers. This is what my funnel looks like. I have about 500,000 people at the top that come in from all my social media platforms. That might be, all the followers, all the engagement, whatever. It equates to about 500,000 people. I then have about 15,000. Well, I now have more than this, but for me to operate my business the way I want to, I need about 15,000 email addresses coming in per year. That then turns into 5,000 leads. And the difference between emails and leads is they're opted in for your specific program. And there's a difference. Obviously, if I get someone on a lead magnet for a gear list, they're not a lead of Time to Build. They're just there because they wanted a free product, which then turns into about 600 to 1,000 students a year. I've put 800 students here because that's suitable, which then turns into $1 million plus per year. This is my funnel. And having an idea of what this looks like can allow you to focus on squeezing your audience. And again, just to emphasize this point, just to set some goalposts for some of you, because I know some of you haven't even started the whole thing of email collection, but a general rule of thumb for most of you watching this right now is you want to have about, from your audience, you want to be able to convert 20% into your email list. That's your goal. 20% of your total audience should have given you their email address because you're going to do all of your selling from email. Most of your selling on social media or most of your selling in your business is going to happen from email. Your content is okay. It's okay to sell from there, but you have to understand the effectiveness of selling from email is so much stronger. So much stronger. I wish I could get into enormous detail on this today. Maybe we can in the Q&A, but I'll leave it at that for now. Most creative businesses are completely abstract. They don't think about this stuff at all. As some of you said in the chat, like you've not ever thought about that number. You've not ever thought about how many emails you would need, how many leads you would need. You've not thought about how many people on a wait list you need to make the money that you want. And this makes it completely impossible to do. If you choose to make this measurable, if you choose to actually understand what you're doing, it makes your business predictable, it makes it measurable, and it makes it repeatable. I can reasonably predict how much money my business is going to make because I know how many leads I have, and I know how many people I've got coming into my audience. I know how many people I've got converting. I know how many people are doing this and this and this and this, and suddenly I'm able to measure. If this sounds too simple, it seems like big number into small number into purchases. If this sounds too simple, it's because it is. It is that simple. Most people overcomplicate this shit. A funnel, just to like really run this point home, a funnel, like I know people use it in their marketing. They're like, I'm going to help you build a funnel and I'm going to help you do this and we're going to set up this and blah, blah, blah. A funnel, my friends, is big number into small number. That's it. That is literally it. Big number into small number. Nothing else. And you do that by taking big number, giving them lead magnets or tripwires, helping get their contact information and selling them something. That's it. It's just a game of conversion rates, my friends. Business is just conversion rates. It's can you convert 20% of your audience to give you their email? Can you convert 10% of those people into a paid product? And can you convert a small percentage of those people into some kind of upsell of the main program that you have? This belief is the result of well-intentioned people forgetting how they got there in the first place. The idea of waiting to monetize. I understand why they do it. I understand why the big creators who spoke to me tell me to do it. I understand why Gary Vee tells you to wait, why Alex Hormozi tells you to wait. I understand because they learned how to do something, then forgot that learning it was hard. The other side of this coin is that you need to learn how to monetize. And if you build your audience and then start monetizing once you've already built your audience, I've got news for you, my friend. You're a beginner. How well do you reckon you're going to be able to monetize if the first time you sell something is to 500,000 people? You know what happens when you sell something bad to 500,000 people? You destroy your reputation. Completely. You completely destroy your reputation. So it's up to you. You're not Alex Hormozi. Monetization is a skill and you need to learn it. And you learn new skills by being willing to be a beginner. Your first offer, just like your first video, is going to be fucking terrible. Part of being a beginner is getting your bad reps out of the way. So let me ask you a question. Would you rather launch your first product that will inevitably be terrible when you have 500,000 followers or when you have 500 followers? Which one are you picking? Throw it in the chat. Which one are you picking? 50. Some of you have said 50. Fuck yeah. That's why. Now, look, I'm not promising you guys if you release an offer at 500 followers that you'll make any money. I'm not promising you'll get any more than 2 or 3 or 4 customers. But what I'm saying is if you start that flywheel early, when you do have 500,000 followers, you will fucking dominate. You will dominate because most people wait. I speak to creators all the time who have 100,000, 300,000, 600,000. I've spoken to creators who have 1 million followers who have no idea how to run their business because they were told to wait. They were like, if you wait really long, you'll get a really good result. It's like, no, you won't. No, you fucking won't. I will die on this hill. I will fucking die on this hill. You need to monetize as soon as humanly possible. And not because it'll make you money, but because it'll help you improve. Get your bad runs out of the way early. These are inevitable. Whether you have 100 followers or 1 million, your first products will be dog shit. All of my students struggled through their first reps. All of them. They had the head start of learning from my experience, yes, and me helping them build the systems and put in place all the ways to create a good offer and create a good promise and create a good so that statement and all the things that I helped them do to really create a strong offer. But their first reps were still shit. And those are inevitable. You're going to have to get them out of the way. Get great early when the consequences are low so you can earn more when your audience is bigger later. All right, let me ask you a question. How's everyone doing? Solid. Doing good? Good? Fuck yeah. All right. If you followed everything I showed you today and you eliminated your niche and focused on a target audience, you created sustainable content. You created a sustainable content model. What did we lose in the last one? Don't know why that happened. Created a sustainable content model that allowed you to be consistent and built a content funnel that allowed you to monetize more effectively. Do you think you could be successful? Answer that question. Do you think you could be successful? Of course you could. Abso-fucking-lutely. And if I was able to spend 6 weeks with you implementing these principles into your brand and business with specific examples, templates, and systems to follow for each, with hours of opportunity to ask questions and solve specific problems, and with a community of over 550 other creators to network and build with, along with literally 25 hours of lessons like this, I cannot emphasize that enough. Do you think that would help you achieve those results faster? And if so, how much faster? Now, I can't cover everything in 1 hour. I've tried to squeeze as much as humanly possible into this hour, and I'm certain that a lot of you are probably feeling overwhelmed right now. I can imagine, right? But if you are serious about this goal and you want me to cover every element in enormous detail across 6 weeks of live recordings like this, as well as 20 plus, honestly, 20 plus is an understatement, as well as like 50 plus hours of previous recordings from guest lessons, supplementary material, from specific lessons that I've created that we no longer use anymore, a bunch of resources that you'll get access to immediately alongside the live lessons that we do. Time to Build is open exclusively for all of you right now, 24 hours earlier than everyone else. It's open right now. This is the most intensive personal branding and online business curriculum on the internet, and that's not an exaggeration at all. I'm not here to try and convince you that Time to Build works. I know it fucking works. I've done 6 cohorts of it now. I've had a 550 plus students. We've been doing this for 2 years. I'm just trying to convince you to take action towards your goals. So if you're ready to dive in, you can scan this QR code. It'll take you to a page that is currently hidden, and you'll be able to enroll 24 hours before everyone else. We'll also throw a chat. Daniel Mumba has just thrown something. I don't know if I can pin a comment, unfortunately. But if you want to jump in, this QR code will be available. And as an exclusive bonus for joining the workshop, I'll be randomly selecting one person who enrolls in the next 72 hours to receive a full one-on-one coaching package with me alongside your enrollment. That's 6 one-on-one calls with me, WhatsApp access to my personal phone number, and a personalized monetization. A personalized monetization and content strategy alongside that, which is usually valued at $6,500 US. One person who enrolls in the next 72 hours will be selected, and it will be selected after enrollments close, by the way. Not selected in 72 hours, but one person who enrolls in the first 72 hours will be picked for this. So someone here could potentially get this. And finally, There are just 200 spots in this cohort, and there are currently over 3,000 people on the wait list, and over 1,000, well, not 1,000 anymore. We've got 610 people in this call, so don't miss out. If you want to secure a spot in cohort 7, here is the QR code. All right. So I'm going to jump into this screen and leave that up for you guys, and we're going to jump into Q&A. Some of you have already thrown your hands up, which is great. I'm going to leave that there.
Who's marinating in a couple of mindset shifts and aha moments, just drop a little emoji in the chat to give Tom some love, because he just gave an absolute masterclass in what's taken him, I'd say, mate, probably nearly a decade to compress into 1 hour.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
Let me know, guys, if you guys enroll, throw something in the chat to let me know, because I'll call it out. I'm excited to have you guys involved. Yes, there is payment plan options in the link if you follow the link that's on screen right now. All right, so I'm going to let some people up, and we're going to go one by one through the Q&A. Let me go and how can we do this as best as possible, I reckon. Let's go Emin. I'm going to let a bunch of people up. Please don't unmute your mics just yet. We're just letting you up into the panel. And Amir, if you want to jump in, let me know. I'm just going to
can you hear me?
Yes, I'm just going to make sure I'm not give me 1 sec.
Oh my God.
Remove my spotlight. If you can, mate, could you turn your camera on?
Oh, yeah. Wait a sec. I can't use my camera.
That's all good, brother.
How you doing? It was amazing. It was amazing presentation, and I love your email newsletter, and thank you for open mind things coming from you. Sorry for my English, not perfect, by the way.
That's all good, my friend.
Okay, I have one question. The reason I came here today is the open mind emails you sent me.
Yep.
And I'm curious about how I can create something sustainable.
Yeah.
It's like a product. It's like content. What do you think?
As in, so what do you mean by sustainable? Do you mean a business as a whole?
I mean, it might be business. It might be a product which is made from anything, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, how can I explain?
I think I would need a lot more context, unfortunately, on like your situation, on your skill set, on everything you've done so far, because that kind of outlines obviously what your offer is, but then also what your content is, how you can use that to connect with your audience. All of that kind of dictates what you would do in terms of what would be sustainable for you. So I would need a little bit more context. But if you want, shoot me an email at tom@tomnoske.com and just provide me with, if you could let me know like a little bit of a background on what you've done so far, then I can kind of go a little bit deeper with you and hopefully provide a bit more context on what I think would be suitable. But yeah, I would need more, unfortunately, I would need more context to give you a solid answer.
Okay, thank you.
That's all good. That's all good.
Can go next. Okay.
We'll go Max. Or Maxim.
Yeah, got you. I'm here.
Howdy, mate.
Yeah, doing pretty well. So actually 2 questions, but let's start with the like easiest one.
Yeah.
What is the best way to track conversions of organic content, like especially for clients, but obviously that should be the same for your own business, right? What we are trying to build here.
Yeah. I mean, the easiest way to track conversions with organic content is to do CTAs, so like calls to action. And that is kind of your main metric if your goal is lead generation. So if you want to get people off social media through organic content and get them to opt in with either an email address or a low ticket product, yeah, ManyChat is like using keyword call to actions, using
Right.
sign up links, like clicking your link in bio. All of these little metrics are, I would compare that to your total engagement for that month, and then compare that to how many people you have clicking those links and how many people you have actually converting. Because I might, let's say I put out a piece of content and I'm like, comment such and such word to join this lead magnet. And we have 2,500 people comment the word, but then only have 1,200 people convert into that. That means there's something wrong with either the landing page that they're sent to or the DM automation or something wrong in some capacity. So the easiest way to track conversions is just, comparing your total engagement for the month. And I would look at it in terms of engagement, not followers, not views, not whatever. It's just like what's your reach? How many unique people have you reached that month? And then compare that to how many people you're converting either into your email list, into lead magnets, or into low ticket digital products.
All right. That is a super good answer. Like many readable things there.
Amazing.
And then the next question is, maybe this is relatable to other people, but I have this limiting belief or this internal conflict that I just don't really like the whole notion of this whole generation showing off their life on Instagram and just showing how amazing their life is and all the travel pictures and everything. I don't know, this whole ego thing just sort of repels me, but this also prevents me from sharing stuff that I would like to share, but I think like, this is sort of a little bit too braggy, you know what I mean? Because I'm in a field where I'm just gonna say it, I'm a videographer for super yachts, so everything I post basically like it is sort of braggy by default. So maybe you can help me with that.
Okay. I'm probably going to go somewhere that you don't expect, but why do you feel like it's braggy? What are you scared of?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? That is probably the answer to that would probably be the solution. But especially in this niche, I see a lot of people who will go out of their way to sort of boast themselves with being on a yacht. Let's do other examples, being in front of fancy cars. And generally my feed of all the people I follow, it is like everyone knows, just full of the best sort of moments and all the travel pictures. And then every picture I just, like there's so many people just very obviously staging their pictures in a way that show off, hey, look at what I have achieved. Look how amazing my life is. And it's not for me. Just I don't know.
Okay, so the easiest way for me to give you some tactics to do this, I think the first one is to understand, and I try to tell this to my students all the time, is like by making content and selling products, that automatically doesn't, like, you're not going to magically turn into a shit person. Does that make sense? So like a lot of these people who are, hiring a Lamborghini and then using that to sell courses, or like hiring a fake private jet and taking those photos and then using that to talk about a life that they don't actually live, or, these people that are talking about revenue that their business makes that literally doesn't exist. Unlike sharing screenshots from your accounting software, as I've done in this call, it's like all of those people are bad people to begin with. They have bad morals. They've just like decided that this is something that they don't give a fuck about. If you're a good person, you're not going to become a shit person just because you make content online. So that's the first point. It's like, just be authentic. If you sharing your content on a super yacht is authentic to you, do it and be confident in your own ability to do that. The second part of it is there needs to be contrast. So people think you're full of shit if there's no contrast between the highs and the lows. And I think that comes from an idea like, in my own life, as much as I have achieved the things that I've achieved, and as much as I feel like I live a good life, I would be lying to you if I said that I don't have days where I just don't feel like doing this shit. I have days where it's just not working for me. I have days where my anxiety is really bad. I have days where I wake up in the morning and I'm just like a fucking anxious wreck, and nothing is working, and I'm not going to be able to make any content if my life fucking depended on it. And that's the contrast, is I've achieved the things that I've achieved, but I also go through all the same shit that like everyone does. So when I see a content creator who's sharing content and they're like, my life is fantastic and it's never bad and nothing ever, goes wrong, I immediately think they're full of shit, not because I don't trust their content, but because I don't see the contrast. There's no difference there's no gap between their struggles and their highlights. So by you sharing a little bit of the real side of your business, going like, hey guys, I just had a client fucking yell at me because I, didn't deliver my product on time. Or, hey guys, I just, had a really bad day and I'm like fucking struggling with this project that I've got going on at the moment. I bit off a little bit more than I can chew. And you know what? I need to next time I need to be a little bit more organized with what I say yes to. That's going to make the stuff that you share at the highlight that much more relatable. It's the difference between there's some content creators when they share like their success and their audience goes, dude, stop bragging. And then I share my success and my audience goes, oh my God, Tom, I'm so fucking stoked for you. And the difference is that I've shared both sides. I've shared the struggles and I've shared the highlights. So creating that contrast is the important thing here. It's not that you can't share the highlights or you need to share, a muted down version of what you do. You just need to share both.
That actually helps quite a lot because I mean, it's the truth. It looks when I share all this stuff, it looks super amazing, and most people probably feel like I'm doing a dream job. But the reality is that 90% of being on the shoot is just me worrying about like delivering the content in the quality that the client wants and getting all the shots, and hopefully everything goes well. Hopefully my drone doesn't crash in the freaking yard and I have to give a very awkward call to my insurance company saying, hey guys, little problem here.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that helps, man. All right.
Yeah, thanks a
jump
lot.
to,
I'm good for now. Let's
Amazing.
listen to the others.
We'll jump to Luke's. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hold on. Wait, can you
I can't.
can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. I was talking to Daniel because I want to bring up the video option because I have my own kind of content creation station and it will give you contrast up to like the backdrop that I'm working with.
I don't know why maybe it's you know what, this webinar is a little bit fidgety. I don't know why the video permissions is not working.
Yeah, in the same boat. I haven't been able to grant
video permission,
Tom, so it may just have to be audio only for questions.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I'll
Sorry, guys.
yeah, sorry.
No, for sure. All right. So I'm a musician and for contrast, I've uploaded over 1,000 videos within the past 2 years, but I just got the Sony ZV-E1 with a 24-70 millimeter lens.
Yeah.
So what do you think about, like, obviously I do everyday content. I have my own like studio that I record my music in. So what do you think about like my thing is trending sounds and hashtags and captions.
Yeah.
So what's your what do you think about that?
That's your main content?
That's what I'm kind of on the fence about, like doing like trending sounds, because if I'm using my music, I can't necessarily do trending sounds.
Oh, don't worry about that, man. Go like, again, this is like you making content with trending audio is like you're stepping over you're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. Like your real goal in being a musician is to get your music out there, right?
100%.
So make the trending audio. Like make videos with your music, and like the upside is so much higher because then you'll have, you know, one of your videos may potentially go viral and then you're the trending audio.
Right.
That's
pretty much what I've always thought. I was just like, you know, I don't know how to get my video to go viral without using a trending sound nowadays, it seems like. No.
So the whole thing of virality, like, okay, there's a few principles that make something go viral. And I think like it's more so, it's less like technical, and it's more just like how the content is made. It's like, you know, it's like the ingredients that go into a viral piece of content. Let me show something to hopefully demonstrate this. So
Okay.
as far as like a viral piece of content, the main ingredients that I would talk about is like, the first one is breadth. This is like, I don't know if that's spelt right, but anyway. Oh well, a little bit of my dyslexia coming in. Breadth is basically like the total consumable market of that piece of content. And if we're talking like, you know, in terms of most viral to least viral, most viral will be like a drone shot of the Dolomites. But why is that super viral? Because every single human being on the planet can look at that video and go, that's pretty cool. And
Right.
to least viral is a video of you talking about your day. Now, that doesn't mean that the bottom one can't go viral, but it's a consideration that you kind of have to make. You need to understand, like, it is about total consumable market of the content influences the ability for it to go viral, because everyone needs to look at it. And you do this by, number 2, removing the need for context. So like, don't start a video and go, hey, remember when I said last week about this thing? Well, this video, like today's video is going to be about that thing that I spoke about last week. That's the worst possible thing you can do because it's basically having an inside joke with your audience that everyone needs to know before they're able to consume that piece of content. So remove the need for context. And the third thing I would say is like, have some kind of like, have something that is, I don't want to use the word different because that implies like it needs to be original. It's more like have something that has some shock value. Have something that has something at the intro of the video or something in the video that kind of rips people out of the state they're on social media. You need to have the thing where it's like scroll, 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 scroll. Oh my God, what the fuck is that? And for some people, that might be like, for me, as soon as I see a video of a really nicely spec'd Porsche, I'm like, oh, I'm fucking in. I'm watching the whole video. Or if I see a video that like really hits on a point that I'm going through personally in my life, like, you know, the classic is TikTok videos go viral, like 4, 5, 6 minute TikTok videos go viral all the time because they'll have a really strong hook. It'll be some dude sitting in his car. One hit me recently. It was like some dude sitting in his car and he was like, he talked about like, I think it was like, he opened the video with, I'm 40 years old and I still hang out with all my mates from high school. And I was like, oh my God, that's really interesting. Because like, I don't even see, I'm 27 and I don't even see my mates from high school that much anymore. So it was like a huge, I saw that video and I was like, well, fuck, I need to know how he did that. Because like, I would love to still, you know, be catching up with my mates from high school. And he went on to talk about how they have like a weekly, every Wednesday, they send each other a video message updating themselves on their week. And that's allowed them to keep connecting. And every year they have a trip where each week everyone has to contribute $10 or something. And then by the end of the year, they go on a trip together, contributed by everyone. And it's like this way of them being friends. But that opening for the video was enough shock value for me to go, I'm watching the rest of this. So these are the 3 things that I would focus on is like, increasing the breadth of your content, removing the need for context, and have some kind of shock value. But that's only important. That is only important when you're trying to go viral, not in all your content. So that's the kicker. Like what we spoke about today, growth, authority, and authenticity, that stuff is only for growth content. It's not for all your content. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah. And that's how I was thinking, because I do everyday music videos. Like I have 2 freaking purple neon lights and like it's all set up, it's all done up. And so I do that every day, but I've been thinking about doing more of like my story part 1, my story part 2, and going on and like seeing if I can get to like 100 videos just to like add a different aspect, you know. So
yeah. Okay, cool,
sweet.
I think that'll be awesome. Like just focus on like, don't like go for the big fish, like the blue ocean for you. Have you heard the term blue ocean, red ocean?
I have not.
So blue ocean is just like, you know, endless opportunities. It's a big open ocean where you've got amazing, like it's not oversaturated. It's not filled up with too many people. Like it's a great opportunity to jump into. Whereas a red ocean is oversaturated, overused, already done, like just overpopulated, way too much going on. And it's really difficult to make an impact in there. You posting on social media, using your own music alongside like maybe talking about other things that can get in front of people's attention, maybe talking about your desk setup, maybe talking about whatever other interests that you have that could connect with other human beings. That is your blue ocean because no one else can make that music for you. It's an opportunity that only you can create. So I would focus on the big opportunity, especially if you're a musician.
Sweet. Yeah. And I just got a BRZ too. I know you're going to like that. So I just got the 2022 BRZ. Nice. So I've been doing a lot of car content. So yeah, but thank you, Tom. I really appreciate it, man.
Fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah. All right. I'll disable talking. Let's go to Aman. I think Aman was next. And I'll let a few more people up. Let's let Mike, Daniel, Louis, and Evan. Aman, can you hear me? Or Sam? I think his name's Sam.
Hello.
Howdy, mate.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello, Sam. So I really like this workshop, and
Thank you,
you for giving so much value on this. I really love the content for funnel which you thought here.
Yep.
That was great. So I'm just confused. Where should I invest my time? And I just want clarification on this. So I have an Instagram page where I teach about discipline, body mindset, and everything in between.
Yep.
So I just want help from you. Like, where should I invest my time? So in the end of this thing, I want to coach people one-on-one, like you do in your cohorts and things.
Yep.
So where should I invest my time? Should I invest in $29 product, an ebook or something? Or should I invest in like coaching to make it better?
So what's the first part of this is like, what skill do you have at the moment? What do you have that other people would find desirable? Have you learnt because there's kind of a progression that you need to make, at least in my opinion, before all of this sort of stuff can work. Like what's the skill that you have that you think other people would desire?
Tell this guy. Okay, so in the last 6 months, I was the guy who was undisciplined, who used to spend his time on phone every single minute watching movies, reels, phones, everything where I waste my time and do nothing about my future.
Yeah.
Like I'm 23 years old. So my audience is also targeted on that age also. So the thing is, the people who was me like 6 months ago, and I want to make them disciplined like how I am now. So right now I'm disciplined. I work everything on calendars, and I am super productive right now. And thanks to God for that. Thanks to you for that. So I just want to help people be what I am today, so that they can achieve their goals by being disciplined.
Yep. Yep.
You got me?
Yeah, I get you. Okay, I would focus on narrowly helping them achieve one desired outcome for now, because you're early to the game. Like this is, to give you my context on my story. So I was a professional filmmaker. That was my career for between 2017 and 2021. Not a very successful one, but that's how I made my money. I was a freelancer. And that's what allows me to do, I know all of this stuff because of, my professional filmmaking days. This is where I learned all these things. So that was the context I took into content creation. And then when I came back in 2022, I started by selling digital assets for creators. So I sold LUTs, which is like, if I show you now, I have my LUTs already turned on for this video, like making it look the way it does. Like if I turn them off,
I
turn them on. So I use these products still to this day, but I sold my LUTs, and that was how I got started in social media and making money. I then built that business to $50,000 a month. I was making 50 grand a month selling digital assets. And as a result, people started asking the question of like, how do I do that in my own business? So I started taking on one-on-one clients to help other people build their digital assets, build their audience, and build a bit more of a profitable business as part of their personal brand as well. Because I realized that there was a gap in the market between creative people and like business-minded people. Because something that a lot of these like business gurus on TikTok or business gurus on Twitter more specifically don't understand is that creative people think they're full of shit. So like creative people are very distrusting of like a Twitter guru talking about money and marketing and business and all that sort of stuff. So I realized there was a gap in the market, which is why I created Time to Build. So there's a progression that needs to happen. So I would look at what you've been able to achieve so far and go, what can I help someone with right now that would be able to be turned into a product that then eventually can be translated into broader coaching? Because if you want to coach someone on how to be disciplined now, it's going to be a hard sell because like you're 23, you've just started this process. It's something that you're very new at. Could you help people reduce their screen time? Like that sounds like something that you have struggled with. Like I'm sure you had strategies that you used to reduce screen time for people or for yourself. Like maybe you use certain applications, maybe you use certain systems in your life, principles, these things that you follow. Could you create a PDF or an ebook or a little course that helps people reduce their screen time? I would then invest into building that business, creating content to help people reduce their screen time, along with all your other content to build your personal brand, build that up, and then eventually you can broaden that product to help a wider group of people. But starting like your products, the irony is your content can be broad, but your products need to be very niched. You need to really be specific about what you're teaching because the goal with a product is you need to have control over the customer journey. You need to know that your customers are starting at point A and you want to get them to point B, and you need to know every step along that journey to help them achieve that. And the broader your product is, the harder that customer journey is to control. So if you do something like, I'm going to help you be more disciplined, it sounds good in theory, but then you'll end up with someone who looks like a bunch of people that look completely different and a finished journey that's going to look completely different. Whereas if you go, hey, I'm going to help you take your screen time from 8 hours a day to 3 hours a day, guaranteed in the first month, that's a good offer and something that people would be willing to pay for. So get narrow with what you want to do, and hopefully.
So with my question in this, so should right now, as you said, I should go with the $29 product section or a free ebook section. So where can I learn these things first? How this
where can you learn how to do that? So obviously I'd recommend my program. But if I'm being unbiased, I would just like for this next month, go, okay, I want to sell a $29 product and throw yourself into that project of trying to do it. Like throw yourself into the process of going like, okay, I need to sell something. How do I sell something? Well, you've got Gumroad. Okay, I need to make a Gumroad account. I need to make a landing page. How do I make a landing page? Suddenly you'll be Googling how to build a landing page. And before you know it, this is basically the difference between, and this is a good lesson for a lot of you, this is the difference between need to know knowledge and nice to know knowledge. Like right now, all of this that I'm teaching you is nice to know because you're not using it. Like there's nothing that like you don't have any use case for the knowledge that I'm giving you. Whereas if you have a need to know knowledge, like, hey, I've started a product, I need to know how to build a landing page. Suddenly everything that I say, suddenly everything you read online is much more applicable and much stickier in your head. It's a lot easier to consume a piece of content from someone and go, wow, I needed that, as opposed to, this was nice to know.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Sam. I appreciate it.
That's all good, man.
I appreciate
it. I'll jump to Social Wise. Hello? Social Wise?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Got ya.
Okay. Sorry. I
That's
was
all good,
on mute. Hello, Tom. Thank you for the big value of 1 hour. Was
Man.
it
Stoked.
was very, very, very good. I love it. Tom, I have a question. I'm actually doing like personal branding, but not for myself. I'm doing for business clients actually. And I wanted you to ask because sorry, my English isn't that good. I can
okay,
do
my
it
friend.
for myself, you know? I have this insecurities and everything, and how can you handle your insecurities? I wanted just to know, or just hearing from your lips.
How I handle my own insecurities.
Yes, to do stuff.
It's a combination of things. Like, it's exposure therapy a little bit. Like, where I am, what I am today, the energy that I brought on this call today is not fresh out of the box. This is like an ability that I've developed over the last 2 years. I cannot emphasize this point enough. I reckon I've done north of 1,000 hours of live teaching over the last 12 months, over the last 2 years, between my program, between the workshops, between just one-on-one calls with students, between like talking to camera for my videos. I reckon I've done north of 1,000 hours of live teaching, which is why I've got this ability to do what I've done. So it is a lot of practice. Like, you kind of have to admit to yourself, like, okay, I'm going to have to develop this ability over time. And then as far as the insecurities thing, like, it's the same thing. Like, you'll learn over time, like, what works and what doesn't. Like, you'll figure out ways to, all of this is just a process of time. If you're scared of being on camera, or scared of the way you look, or embarrassed about what people are going to say about your videos, all of that stuff disappears with time.
Yeah, that's right, for sure. And the next question is actually pretty simple, I guess. And it's like the same as you said, because but how do you storytell?
How do I storytell?
Yeah.
It's actually very easy. Just tell stories that are real. Like, a really easy way to storytell is just to tell an actual story, because it actually happened, and it's a much easier way than manufacturing something. Like, there's a reason why script writers for film and TV get paid so well, because it's really fucking difficult to do, to come up with something that's like didn't really happen. Whereas for me, I just try to draw from my own experiences, and it might not sound like, you might be thinking to yourself, wow, I don't have any experiences, but you do. You do have stories that you've gone through that might not seem important now, but in years' time will be like, oh my God, that was incredible. Like, my story of quitting and then applying for a job and getting rejected and then starting my content again is now a great story. My story of going to my friend's 23rd birthday party with $82 in my bank account is a really good story. My story of my family going bankrupt when I was 15 is a really good story. All of these things are actual stories that I went through that are now good stories to tell. But it's because it's a real story. It actually happened. So just draw from real experiences.
It's like self therapy, right?
Yeah, literally.
Awesome. Awesome.
Maybe.
Love your time.
No worries at
Love
all.
your stuff. I will.
No worries at all. Let me go through some of these Q&A questions, because I know a few of you have typed these out. Let me have a look. What have we got? So Julia asked, hi, Tom, I'm curious on how your thoughts about selling to a more female audience. I recognize that your platform and previous students are likely 90% male, so I'm hesitant to enroll in the course. I truly believe that some slight marketing differences and types of content that resonate with females more than males, and I think it's silly people not to admit this. I'm in the process of rebuilding my audience of mostly females, about 77K, that I created in about 6 months with viral videos. I didn't know back then that this wouldn't translate into sales, but I'm going through the hard shit, losing followers and losing views by putting out more meaningful content. I am having trouble developing a product about building confidence because this is less of an objective thing compared to your content, if that makes sense, making money. I want to do this now as I make my content more personal, because I think it's also something I want to share online with the community. Did you have any advice on this? So as far as the first part, yeah, unfortunately, like me being male means that most of my audience is just male. I think that's just like, unfortunately, the way it is on social media, especially like, I don't know. I wish it wasn't the case, but it kind of just is. And I have tried actually. So a lot of my marketing, a lot of the testimonials that I use are females, you'll notice. So when I share examples on my stories, when I share examples in the emails, when I talk about past student successes, you'll notice that a lot of them are actually female, and I'm doing that on purpose. I'm trying to do that to basically show, one, that any industry can work. I share a lot of different industries. Like, Aaron's a real estate videographer. Dan here is like an educator, like a community educator. Like, I've had people who are fitness influencers. I've had people in literally every industry. So I try to really mention that. And then, a lot of my testimonials, Aurelie Cubble has just reached her first $10,000 a month. She's a music producer as part of my program. There was Anna, who's a YouTuber. She's just recently got to 14,000 subscribers and just had her first $30,000 a month. There's a bunch of others that I would need to draw from off the top of my head, but I have heaps of examples of my female students doing exceptionally well. So I'm doing my best, but unfortunately, just 85% of my audience on Instagram is male. So that's just the way it kind of, the majority, unfortunately. But I'm trying to change that, at least in the program. We have a lot of female students in the program, so I hope that makes sense. As far as what you're doing, so the objective thing, it's not so much about like you need to sell making money. It's that your content and your product needs to be self-evidential. There needs to be like an implicit example of your product in play in your content. So it's like, if let's do the example of like a fitness influencer, someone who wants to help people lose weight, or like a really specific example, maybe where someone who's trying to help people lose weight with keto or something like that. Your daily content needs to emphasize your own results with that thing, and then also your students' results with that thing or that result, and then lead people into lead gen products, lead magnets, workshops, whatever you want to do that can get people to be interested in that, and then sell those people on the back end of the emails, on whatever you want to do, post sign up sequence, nurturing sequences, all that sort of stuff. So it's not that it's less objective. It's that my content or the results of my product are self-evidential in my content and in my students' results. And I do that very intentionally. It seems more obvious. It's like, oh, of course. But you'll notice in most of my content, I don't talk about, like a lot of my content, I don't talk about money. A lot of my content is actually just me talking about stories that I've been through, me talking about my own experiences, me talking about things to help creators, like creative people. Like some of it's training, like some of it's talking about my relationship between business and training. So it's not actually as like literal as you are putting it out to be. So yeah, I hope that helps. We'll go one more in here. Is there a way to optimize for doing business part-time? I know that part-time is sometimes a dirty word in entrepreneurship, and that you can only gain success by being all in, but I currently live in London. Right now, my life is here. That can't be changed for now, but London is super expensive, so I need a day job to optimize. Oh, I lost the question. Anyway, yes, the part-time thing. The part-time thing is like, I think something that people really forget with business is that it's going to require sacrifices. Like there is going to, at the end of the day, there's no such thing as a free lunch. No one owes you anything. There's no, like, you don't get to want something and then it happens. So part of this means that you need to do an audit of your, if having a part-time job or having a full-time job or a day job, and then doing this on the side is the cross to bear that you've decided to have, you need to do an audit of your time and then figure out what time you have available and where you can allocate time to the thing that you actually want to do. It's as plain and simple as that. So if you're someone who works from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. or 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., whatever you want to do, could you wake up an hour earlier and get 90 minutes of work done before work? Could you allocate 2 hours in the afternoon every single day to your work and literally get yourself a little 30-minute egg timer like one of these? This thing's changed my fucking life. And just go, okay, every single day I need to do at least 5 intervals of 30 minutes on my work that I actually want to do. And the goal is like, don't look at it as you're permanently part-time. The goal is to escape to the point where you don't need to be part-time anymore. So orientate all of your focus on making this profitable and sustainable as soon as humanly possible. So the part-time thing is no issue. You just need to be honest with yourself around the limitations. You need to actually figure out how much time you have and what you can allocate towards. All right, I'm going to jump to one of the questions on stage now. Let's go Daniel. Daniel Ben David.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, mate. How you doing?
I'm good. I was wondering if time to build is relevant to growing a YouTube channel, because I can see that it's very relevant if I'm trying to sell a certain product, but my goal with the channel is not like to sell a product, is to just grow a community.
Yes, absolutely. So the reason why, like, I've not, like, my primary platform is Instagram. So because the product is me, I'm the teacher or the primary teacher in the program. By proxy, it feels like Instagram is the primary thing we focus on. We're actually completely platform agnostic. All the principles that I teach in the program can be used on TikTok, can be used on LinkedIn, can be used on Instagram, can be used on YouTube. It's really like, at the core of it, we're focused on improving your brand and then improving your marketing strategies and improving your offers. So if anything, it would actually be better on YouTube, because YouTube nurtures the audience immediately rather than Instagram, where you've kind of got to do short form content and then nurture your audience off platform. So I would argue, yes, I would argue that it's very applicable. And we've had successful YouTubers in the past. We've got one YouTuber in cohort 6 who is a UX designer. She's just recently blown up on there, and she's now selling tutoring, UX tutoring, to help people get jobs in that space, because obviously it's a very lucrative career. And then we've also got Anna, who's just recently gotten to 12 or 14,000 subscribers, and she's making $30,000 a month. The key is, like, the program's not teaching like viral growth. The program is teaching branding principles and marketing principles to help you improve both the growth of your audience, but then the growth of your business. So it will be much more focused on helping you create an offer and then sell that offer to your audience, alongside building a stronger connection to your audience by integrating a few, branding principles, like, all the things that I'll teach you in weeks 1 and 2 that help you improve the quality of your brand, to then grow a stronger audience from a bigger foundation. So I hope that makes sense. We try to be as platform agnostic as humanly possible. We do have some guest speakers that come on that teach specific elements from specific platforms. So we've got someone coming on week 1 who's like an expert for viral growth on Instagram and TikTok. But other than that, it's completely agnostic to the platform.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Hell yeah. All right.
Next up, Tom, is Phil, a familiar face and a familiar name.
Hey, I didn't see Phil there. How you doing, mate?
Just unmuting it quickly. Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can. Good to see you, mate. Phil was
good
a
to see you.
student of ours.
Good to see you too. Super stoked. Without sounding gay at all, I can't get enough of you and Mamba. So back again, man.
That's amazing, man.
So just to give you a background, I was first into cohort 3, and then that is when I was literally just an audience and watching all the stuff that you create and all the learnings that you give on the course. Moving ahead was, I think, March this year. It was cohort 6 when I was actually stepping in, asking questions. So I do videography full time. Cohort 3, I was a bartender, wanting to be a videographer. And then I started a company a year ago, and then now cohort 7, when I am gonna kill it. So how cohort 6 went for me was that I attended each and every lesson and all the information that you put out there. And I try to follow everything, but at the same time, I was running a business, and most of my time went into my clients and client work and stuff like that. So I wasn't able to completely invest my time into my homeworks, right? And that's exactly the reason why I feel like I could not give my full self and could not reap the best out of the course, because I was only an audience and asking questions and stuff. But this time The aim is that I have a better source of income now, a better understanding with my income finances. I have another person who's an assistant who's working with me side by side, taking care of emails and stuff, while I put all my efforts into getting the homework done and giving my full into the course. I know the easiest answer to this question is that just do it, but would love to get your idea on the question. Is that how do you think I can best perform and in this course, right, with cohort 7?
Yeah.
Considering what I've
it's
the
what we
overwhelm
talk
that
about.
I've gone through.
If you remember from the kickoff call that we have, where I talk about personal projects, it's that. It's starting a personal project to work on alongside the cohort. So I always recommend, and all of you who have enrolled from this call, and then everyone who's enrolling over the next week, will realize that I'm a big fan of everyone in the cohort starting a personal project, regardless of how much they know. So whether that be selling a low ticket digital product, launching your email newsletter, like doing something as part of your business to help provide context for everything that we're going to learn. So for you, like if you wanted to start a personal project, you could go, you know what, every day for the entire cohort, I'm going to post content every single day. And that will mean that everything we speak about in regards to content is going to be that much stickier in your head. You could go, you know what, I'm going to release my first low ticket digital product or free lead magnet. And suddenly everything we speak about in terms of marketing and lead magnets and email and automations and everything we cover will be that much stickier in your head. So picking a personal project and throwing yourself in, like literally today, go and be like, write down and go, okay, what do I want to do over the next month, 2 months? Like obviously we've got 2 months together. What do I want to do over the next 2 months that's going to help me make enormous progress from the lessons I learn?
Yes. Got it. Yeah. Thanks a lot for that. I'm just freaking ready to attack, man. So thank you.
Man.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, that is it. And when do you start the course, if I may ask? I'm not sure if I saw it on the emails.
So if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it's not this coming Monday, it's the Monday after. So about 10 days from now. If you're in the other hemisphere, it is Sunday week. So not this coming Sunday, the Sunday after. But all of this is in, I mean, I could give you guys a bit of a, I mean, for those of you who aren't in it, let me see if I can help you guys see this. I might be able to quickly do this. Hold on, give me 1 sec. Google Chrome.
Also, the iPad transition is dope.
Thanks, man. I'm really, I've started using it in my, in some of the things, and it's helped me just like, help me be more, because I'm quite a visual thinker. So it's helped me like help people, help emphasize points in a more articulate way, or less articulate, but more like organized way. So to give you guys an idea, for those of you who are wondering how the program actually works, I won't show you. So this is what you'll see when you enroll. You'll have all of our live sessions that we have coming up. So these are basically all the live sessions. There's still a few of them for us to add on. And these are how this time zone will be in your time zone automatically. So you can just join this, and then that'll be added automatically. As far as what it'll look like afterwards, I'll go to cohort 6. You guys won't be able to see this, but this is what you'll have then afterwards. So as we do all the live calls, they'll get added to the recording section, and then you'll have access to those forever that you can use for whatever. And this is how the community is laid up. We then have all of your supplementary material. So you immediately get access to all of these recordings, which are, past lesson recordings, guest speakers, some tutorials that we've made specifically for all the things that you need to learn, and then a few other things that you can use straight away. So that's kind of to give you guys an idea of what you'll get. So don't stress about like when it starts, all those sort of things. All of that is like well and truly covered in the community. So do not stress about needing to know dates, needing to know times, needing to know whatever. All of that's organized for you.
Thank you, Tom. Can't be more than be excited. Thanks a lot.
All right, let's go. I think we'll have time for a few more. Let's go, Daniel. How you doing, mate? Daniel David. I think he's
I
low.
probably have a question,
There we go.
so if you can go to someone else.
Oh, cool. All right. Catherine,
Hi, Tom. Can you hear me?
I can. How you doing?
Yeah. Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
I'm actually friends with that UX student from your last cohort.
Really? Wow.
Sharon.
That's
Yeah.
so
I just
funny
texted
small
her
world.
that I just texted her that you mentioned her. But anyway, so I have two questions and I want to share a bit of context, and thank you for being so patient and not rushing anybody who's asking questions. So I basically share lifestyle, fitness, and like self-growth fashion content. There's a lot to me, as you can tell.
Yeah.
So the mission is like my deep core mission is I want to help and inspire young women to elevate to their best selves and invest and accumulate their own soft net worth, what I call it, which is basically all the other personal values that are not financial assets. Because you never
Interesting. I
hear a
like
man be
soft
like,
net worth.
because you never
That's a
hear,
cool
you
term.
never hear, yeah, like it came up in my mind, but I want to like make people familiar with that because you
Yeah.
never hear a man be like, oh, I aspire to find a CEO wife or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't mind, like, I don't disagree when girls are girl bossing, but I feel like there are so much more to invest in yourself as a woman. So that's what I want to like highlight to my followers.
Okay.
And while being a confident bad bitch doing it, because for example, like I do horse riding, I go to the gym, I love fashion that makes me feel powerful and creates a statement.
Yep.
But I also love romanticizing life and I love sharing those realization mindsets that feels like a slap in the face, which I kind of get from your content. That's why I love you. And I don't mind the creator, like influencer brand deal and collaboration part, but I feel like the angle to me is to have multiple stream of income source.
Yeah.
Like it's not that I only sell digital products, but like I want to have, say, sometimes brand deals and collaborations that like helps me explore like the niche and not the niche, but like the realm of like creators, but also have my digital products like and maybe Notion templates or even physical products.
Yep.
So I have a lot of story to share like along the lifestyle, like fitness, self-growth, fashion. And I also like came to North America when I was 14 and now I'm 25. So I basically learned like English like here and I moved to New York City and Toronto all by myself. So there's a lot of stories between that, but I'm struggling like how do I tell my story effectively? And is there a structure? Like what do I choose to tell, not tell? And how does that like tie into the topics that I have that I just talked about? Like how do I keep them interested or like it's not too long because I tend to speak a lot, as you can tell.
Yeah.
So that's my first question.
Okay, so you're trying to achieve different things with each of your different content types. Like you're not like again back to the thing that I spoke about, growth, authority and authenticity. Like you're not trying to go viral, build your audience and make money on every single piece of content you post because that's like each of those things are kind of antagonistic. To be authentic, you're not going to show authority. And to show authority is not necessarily going to grow an audience because it's a bit too specific. Like each of those things is going to limit your ability to achieve the other. So for you, if you're just sharing a personal story, share a personal story with the intention of connecting with your true fans. And those are the only people you're actually connecting with in that moment. Like, don't worry about it reaching a wider audience. Like when I share a story about myself, like a personal story about, you know, I posted a video a few weeks ago about my health anxiety. That I wasn't intending on, that was never intended to reach anyone other than my core, like true fans. So I'm not trying to get sales with that content. I'm not trying to grow my audience with that content. I'm not trying to show my authority with that content. I'm just trying to connect with my true fans. So for you, like having that ability to create freely in those moments and make something that's just intended to connect with people will allow you to make it and not worry about it needing to be like, because the worst thing you can do is go, I'm going to tell a personal story, but I'm going to tell it from the perspective of my core mission. And I'm going to be like, that would be like me going, you know, hey, I raced a 935 Ironman and here's how it improved my personal brand. It's like, it's not interesting. Whereas if I just talk about, hey, I really love racing Ironmans and I made a piece of content once where I'm like, if I ever win the lottery, I'm going to fuck off and just go race every Ironman on every continent around the world. And that's what I'm going to do with my time. And that piece of content was not with the intention of making sales. It was not with the intention of growing my authority. It had no intention other than me sharing something real and authentic to me. So I would just focus on understanding the purpose of each bucket of content that you make. Sometimes you don't need it to do anything other than just be relatable.
Mm-hmm. And when I'm telling stories, do I necessarily have to speak to a camera, that kind of video? Like, for example, your content is not only just like, oh, like teaching people how to be content, creating a course kind of guru, but then like it does have like a structure that like you're speaking to us, you're giving us advice and like motivation. It's not like you're sharing like, oh, my 5 a.m. running routine, or like like my shower routine after I run, or how you create your photography stuff. So do I need to like sit down and talk to a camera, or like only create like certain specific type of videos?
So for full transparency, like it's a combination of like watch what I do, but also listen to what I say in this case, because although this is the most common piece of content I make, it's not because it's the most effective. It's actually because it's just the most efficient for me to make. So this style of content is very easy for me to make because all I do is sit down in front of camera and record a bunch of videos and then send them to Kyle. But if I had infinite time, I would make more videos like this going through my old footage. I would make more videos like this one that went mega viral. This one it's got 95,000 likes. Like
love that.
Like I would make more videos like this. So it's not necessarily, I love making like carousels. Like I made this mindset carousel a few weeks ago that did super well. Like I would make stuff like this more often. It's just like you need to balance. It's like what we said. You need to balance efficiency with output or efficiency with effectiveness. So for me, like the most effective content at the moment, or the most efficient content, is me talking to camera, but the most effective content is not necessarily that. So you don't need to do anything. You can do whatever you want in terms of your own content, but I would try to figure out like, okay, what's relatively easy for me to make? Like, could you record some iPhone clips of your entire life and then at the end of the day add voiceover to it, and that's the content that you make? Could you sit down in front of camera and make a video? Could you record with your iPhone in your car? Like, what can you do that plays to your strengths, but then also like is reasonably efficient for you to make? The other thing as well is my talking to camera videos. It's my unfair advantage because I have about $25,000 worth of camera equipment in this fucking room. Like I've got a 2-camera setup for a Zoom call. Like who the fuck else is doing this stuff? And it's because I come from a background of professional filmmaking. Like if you guys knew the complexity of the lighting setup I've got going on, I've got like another light boomed up in front of me. I've got this light here, which is creating this effect. Like all of this is set up because I come from a background of doing this professionally. I used to literally be a gaffer on TV commercials. Like I would do the lighting for TV commercials. That's what I used to do. Like this is my profession. So this is my unfair advantage, is getting on camera in the way that I do and making things look visually good. So finding your unfair advantage, finding the thing that you can do that no one else can, and then leaning into that is a really good way to basically dominate the market in whatever you do.
I see. And like last small question is that I'm not starting to sell. Like I don't have anything to sell yet, but like, should I start collecting emails even if I don't have a newsletter set up or something to sell? Like, how should I start collecting those emails?
I would start a weekly newsletter first. I would start a weekly newsletter with the intention of like, because it's one thing to collect emails. It's another thing to have good open rates. And I've worked with a lot of creators before. I worked with a creator recently and we worked on short notice, but I was basically helping him with a launch. And I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. You've got 1,000 people on your waitlist for this product. And we hit launch and he got 18% open rates on his first email that he sent, which means he doesn't have 1,000 people. He's got 180 people on his waitlist. And that's the issue with like collecting emails and not doing anything with them. Like you're going to end up with an unnurtured list that don't even open your email. So I would, for you, if you're just making content and you now want to branch into actually building a business, I would have a think about what your core often can be. And I think we spoke to, was it Aman earlier that we spoke to about this? But like what's one outcome you could help people with? Like one specific outcome that you could help people achieve. Start to think about that, but then also build your email newsletter. So create a weekly newsletter, use it as like almost honestly like a daily journal, like, or a weekly journal, just like talk about the things you're learning, talk about what you're going through, talk about lessons you've implemented into your life, things that you can help these women do what you've done, and just send it out once a week. And then get used to that process, because that learning how to drive people to an email list is the same skill as driving people to a product. So you'll learn a lot of the skills that you'll need to eventually make a lot of money with products.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Yeah. Let's
go one more, because we've been going for 2 hours now. Let's go with Evan, and then we'll finish up for today. I'm so sorry, guys, that I've obviously not been able to answer everyone's question, but if you want, send me a DM on Instagram and just add it as the first part of the message. Go brackets, I was in the webinar, I've got a question. And then add your question underneath, because I get a shitload of DMs from people that are just like bullshit from all these like growth hackers and community builders and all this bullshit. So if you want to get your answer question and you haven't gotten to today, send, as Mumba has said, brackets, I was in the webinar, and then send your question and I'll go through my DM requests today. Evan, how you doing, dude?
Hey, man, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Great. Yeah, I'll get right to it. I know that's we got time on our hands. So just for some context, I run an agency, a video production agency in Los Angeles, where I was born and raised. We typically do projects anywhere from 10 to 20K per client. So that's like the main offer. Now I'm breaking into clients who want retainer, like 4 to 5K a month. Then I've got other clients who are looking to just hire me for like a 1 to 2K just to get on a few calls with me. So I've got essentially quite a few offers here, and I'm looking for really just like, I'm looking for a path forward. I'd say that like right now I'm on the fence. Like I know that I want to be in Time to Build. I guess I'm curious as far as like the amount of time that I'll get to actually workshop like my specific needs, right? Because like for example, constructing specific offers for an audience who at this point they're looking for more personal branding, right? Like that's the big thing right now. So that's a big pivot my agency is like I'm struggling with right now, is most of my the work we've done in the past has been more just like branded mini documentary work. And I'm starting to notice our audience is more like we need virality, right? I've only got 5,000 followers on my IG, so it's something, and it's not even a great audience. It was one that was built years ago off of like me working with influencers. Now they no longer really care to. They don't really. I don't have like maybe like less than 100 likes per piece of content. So it's a bit of a struggle and a bit of a right now. I'm just I'm in a bit of a place of like not really knowing what my next step should be.
In a bit of a pickle.
Yeah, but
So to answer your first part of the question, this is something that like, and I don't know if anyone's in the chat that was in cohort 6, but please attest to me and make sure like everyone understands that this is true. But this is like the thing that we are most proud of, Daniel and I, is like some of our live calls in the cohort have ran for 5-6 hours, because we'll do like 2 hours of teaching and then 3 hours of Q&A, because we just like, this is something that we really want to make sure that I really pride myself on. By the end of the cohort, every single person who's in the program has had at least one conversation with me on the live calls. Like that's something that I make a mission of mine. And then on top of that, we have obviously within the community, you've got DM access to me. So rather than having 350,000 people DMing me, you've got 180 to 200 people DMing me. So like I really, over these 6 weeks, try to really give as close to one-on-one coaching with all of my students as I possibly can in a group context. So obviously like the live lessons will be taught live, but then also after the live lessons, we have enormous opportunity for Q&A. And if you really wanted to, because not everyone takes advantage of that, because some people are shy, some people don't need it. So if you just showed up to all the live calls, which you're in America, so perfect timing for you, hopefully it's in the afternoon or after work. you'll have enormous opportunity. And then every Friday, along with that, we have an additional Q&A with me, which is just an opportunity to answer any questions that fell through the gaps. And then obviously, like all the feedback sections that we have in the community that we use each week. So part of your enrollment is every single week. Me and my team will like review the content that you submit, review the stuff that you submit, and provide you with feedback. This is like, we really, really pride ourselves on making sure that as much as humanly possible, we are providing as close to a one-on-one coaching experience in a group setting as possible, which is why, like, the price is what it is. Because for those 6 weeks, I literally spend 12 to 14 hours a day on Time to Build, including the recording. So hopefully that helped you. As far as your question on what to do next, like, it's hard for me to do without obviously workshopping it with you. So I would just say, like, jump in and I'm sure over the period, if you're already converting people into your coaching programs and service-based business, like you'll crush. It's just a matter of tweaking a few things. So hopefully that answers that question for you.
Yeah, it does. Thanks, man. I'm actually signing up right now, so stoked to be in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, brother. See ya.
All right. Let's go one more. Let's go Louis, because I'm fired up after that question. We'll go Louis, and then we'll finish up, and you guys will get this recording.
Hello, can you hear me?
Got ya.
Hey, Don, how are you? First of all, thank you for the time. Thank you for the opportunity that you created for all of us. I think all the lessons you have posted so far are amazing. And I guess my biggest question to you is, we might be something for others here as well. Is basically like, first of all, I came across your Instagram because of cycling. I can see your Canyon bike just the back of there, right there. And that's how I start connecting. And I started applying some of your lessons in terms of like, get the fuck out of this niche of just cycling, share more about your life, about your diet, how the whole cycling changed my life, or even like how the fact that I left Brazil back 7 years ago, came to Ireland with €5 in my pocket and still made it happen.
Yeah.
And I have to say, all of that is really connecting with people. Some of people are coming back to me and saying that they're really appreciating the stories that I'm passing, and like ways to connect with others, just like you have been saying, right? But the biggest question that I have in my mind is how to create a product out of that, how to monetize my personal branding out of this,
Out of cycling, you mean specifically?
Yeah, basically out of cycling, or in general, in my account, like I cannot look at myself and look, this is the product that I'm able to sell right now,
Yeah. So ultimately it depends on a few things. I'm not sure if you need a qualification to coach cycling, but that would be something I would look into potentially, is like, could you get qualification and then end up being some kind of coach, online coach for cyclists? The other option, and we've actually had we've had multiple people in the program in the past who are specifically cyclists who are making content around that, is what are the things that you can sell to people that are interested in cycling would be interested in? So something we workshopped with another student of mine is location-specific cycling guides. So like, it's one thing, I'm sure you've traveled with your bike before and you get to a new place and you're like trying to find routes on Strava, but some of them don't really tell you about the terrain or like what kind of roads they are, if the roads are shit, if you're going to be, are you going to be riding on a road with no shoulder and there's going to be a truck coming by because it's 100 k's an hour? Like all of these little things that cyclists think about that no one else really thinks about when they travel. Like you could sell specific programming, or not even programming, specific guides to help people travel with their bikes and organize trips to like, I want to go to the Dolomites and do all the climbing and riding in the Dolomites. I want to be able to buy something that I can download the GPX files, install them onto my Wahoo bike computer. And when I go there, I can just follow the map rather than having to figure out my own routes when I get there. So all of these little things, like a cyclist buying guide, a guide for a couple, like a romantic partner of a cyclist, like a birthday buying guide, all of these little things that you could do to help people who are interested in cycling do things peripheral to cycling is how you could monetize it potentially. Because obviously, like the obvious one is coaching, is helping people with their cycling. But the less obvious one is like all the other things that people are interested in. Like, you know, making specific guides, whatever you want to do. But there's a massive array of opportunities in that space that you could do. And then the other part is like, it depends on where you want to go long term, but cycling can be part of your personal brand. It doesn't have to be the core mission of your personal brand. So it's ultimately dependent on a lot of different variables, but I would just say there is plenty of opportunity there.
Absolutely, yes. I think that gives a lot of clarification. And fun enough, I went for a bike packing adventure only last weekend up to Donegal. And I did come across exactly what you're saying. Like some of the roads were just mad and trucks passing out. Like, I'm not gonna bloody make it, you know?
Yeah. No, when I was riding here, like when I moved to where I live now, because I recently moved about an hour away, I needed to find all new routes, and I went on a few rides and ended up like on these roads with no shoulder and trucks because it was like an 80-kilometer-an-hour road. And I'm like, I need to almost like pull over and call my partner to come pick me up because this is crazy. I'm going to get hit by a truck. So those things are like, you know, no one really thinks about that kind of stuff, but that could be an incredible product if you're like, hey, if you're going to visit any of these locations with your bike, here's a group of routes, and then change them by like, you know, here's a low elevation route if you don't really feel like doing climbing. Here's a super high elevation route. Here's a really safe route with, you know, low speed limit roads and big elbows. Here's like a really nice smooth road route that has really good quality roads. Like all of these things can be taken into consideration and help provide
almost
value
like
to
an
people in that
ebook.
space. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really nice idea for sure.
Amazing, man. Well, I'm stoked.
Yeah, no, look, yeah, thank you very much.
That's all good, bro. I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. We've still got 232 people in here, which is insane. Thank you so much for hanging around. We've been going for 2.5 hours. Yeah, like I said, everyone who's in here, Zoom is going to spit me out a CRM of all of your Zoom email addresses. So if you're here today, you'll get this hopefully by the end of today, but please bear with me because obviously it's a very busy day today with the launch and then the launch tomorrow and everything going on. So bear with me, but I will get you the recording as soon as possible. And yeah, hopefully I'll see a bunch of you in cohort 7. Let's go. I'll catch you soon. Thanks, guys.